Week 14's upon us, and here's a few defenses that shouldn't be part of your roster heading into Week 14. The first defense is the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings, they were a 1 week ad versus the Jacksonville Jaguars, and they had a decent fantasy game. 18 points allowed, 2 sacks, 2 windows, 2 fumble recoveries, and a safety. So a good ball game it was for them. They're owned in 56% of leagues, but this week versus Tampa Bay in Tampa, that's going to be a tough game. You know, Tampa, they're trying to get everything going, and now after the bye week, I think this Tampa offense is going to take off. You know, Tom Brady, he's one of the best quarterbacks and IQs in all of football. You know, Tom Brady, he's going to come out firing, and he's going to get his guys going and ready. And this matchup, I just don't like it for Minnesota. They've been playing decent the last few weeks, but this week I'm going to steer away from them. And there's better options on the wire, so I would drop Minnesota. The second defense I'm going to drop here heading into Week 14 is the Buffalo Bills. The Bills here, they had a decent ball game versus the 49ers last night, but this week I just don't like their matchup is the Bills, and their team I'm going to drop heading here into Week 14. They got a tough matchup versus Pittsburgh that gives up the least amount of fantasy points to defenses, and the Steelers, you know, they're not happy. After losing that game to Washington, they're going to come out and try to set the tone early. This game's in Buffalo, so, you know, the Steelers, they got embarrassed. They're not happy, and this Buffalo D, they've been mediocre too as well. They had a decent game versus Frisco, but like I said, that's a matchup they should have took advantage of, and they didn't. And versus the Steelers, I don't want any part of them, so I'm going to drop them this week. And with the playoffs here, I'm not going to look to stash defenses, even though Buffalo has a good matchup in Week 15 at Denver. So Buffalo's the second defense I'm going to drop. And the third and final defense I'm dropping heading into the weeks, the Vegas Raiders. The Raiders here, it was a 1 week matchup thing, I said. They did a decent job versus the New York Jets, was the Raiders on defense. But this week, their total drop, and their defense that doesn't make any stops. The Jets still scored 28 points in that ball game on Sunday, but the Raiders, they had a decent game. Like I said, they made 3 sacks and they threw 2 fumble recoveries. But this week versus a pretty sound Indianapolis offense, I don't like the Raiders matchup. I know the Raiders are home, but they're just a defense I don't trust. And right now they're owned in 60% of leagues. That percentage is probably going to drop back down to 20 or even 10%, which they were owned before the matchup in the Jets in Week 13. So they were a 1 week defense, and their defense I'm going to drop. So that's a few defenses I'm going to drop here heading into Week 14.